I'd now like to pass to CAP's Director, Kate Winstanley, of more than 10 years, who is going to present our annual report.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be standing here, and I can't tell you how proud I am of the transformation we are seeing in CAP. As an organisation, we certainly do punch way above our weight, and I think that's due in no small part to the small but extremely talented and dedicated team we have, and our board led by Derek Lewis. But also the energy from a broad range of really committed partners and exceptional individuals, many of whom are in this room today. So it really is a combined effort of everybody working together. And I'm very pleased also that we have some of our funders who have gone, way above, what we've asked of them, sometimes doubling their funding and even more to help us in this new era that we are in now. I hope you like our new, we've had a whole rebrand, we've got a brand new website, and as part of that rebrand, we've also recently produced a new short video which brings to life our theory of change.
Why do we need community alcohol partnerships? Underage drinking affects all areas of society, but most of all, it affects me. Teens start drinking for so many reasons. Maybe they don't know the risks, maybe they're bored, or perhaps they have easy access to alcohol, particularly at home. CAP's mission, alcohol-free childhoods. The mission at Community Alcohol Partnerships, known as CAP, is to create childhoods that are free from alcohol by reducing underage drinking and the harms that come with it. CAP's approach, local targeted action. CAP knows that, just like young people, every community is different, but their approach always combines 5 core elements. 1. Education for people up to 25, including the interactive theatre production Smashed. 2. Engagement of local partners like schools, police and youth clubs. 3. Entertainment using fun, alcohol-free activities like boxing or art classes. 4. Enforcement of Challenge 25 training to prevent underage sales. 5. Evaluation of CAP projects to measure their impact. The impact, keeping me safe from alcohol's harm. CAP unearths the root causes of local underage drinking, then builds action plans to keep alcohol permanently out of young hands. When CAP builds local partnerships, change happens. The long-term goal, a lasting reduction in underage drinking. On average, CAP sees a 63% reduction in drinking among under 16s and a reduction in antisocial behaviour of 44%. So that's the CAP theory of change, and it's changing the lives of young people like me.
So there you have it. What have we seen? You all have a copy of the annual report. And this, I think, is testament to the amazing progress that we have made. And our key achievements are on that slide there. So as Derek mentioned, we have expanded our team. We've actually almost doubled our team. We're still very small, only 11 in total, but we now have 7 amazing regional advisors who are all here today. So this year we welcomed Fran, Nick and Tam to the team. And this is expanding the amount of outreach and help we can give in our 2 sort of highest harm areas, or nation in one case, in Scotland, but also the north of England. So do sort of say hi to them and speak to them. We also have taken on a research analyst, Debbie, who is here, and she's analysing some sort of big data sets, which is helping us to really understand, where it is that CAP's are most needed. We've also doubled our income, and we continue to get sort of, increases. We've got some big funding in, particularly for our parental supply programme, which I'm going to start I'm going to talk about a little bit further on. We have passed, as Derek mentioned, the milestone of 300 caps, but we also have a really strong pipeline. We've got more than 100 caps sort of waiting to be launched, which is a huge increase in sort of, where we were before. And as I will show you in the next few slides, we continue to evidence really, really significant positive impact across all of the metrics we measure in CAPS. And we've been doing some groundbreaking research around parental supply, which I will talk to you a bit more about. The impact is sort of set out in your reports there. And as many of you will be aware, CAP places a very high value on evidencing impact. And since 2017, all of our CAPs do a baseline evaluation and then evaluate after they have delivered their intensive phase of an action plan. And this looks at a whole range of metrics, but there are sort of the key surveys that are part of that are student surveys, looking at young people's drinking, particularly the 13 to 16 age group, resident surveys, and they report on, their perceptions of underage drinking in their communities, and also licensee surveys. And those are supplemented by crime data provided by the police, and also where we get it compliancy testing by trading standards. So a lot of data there. And the numbers are really pretty significant. So as you can see there, 42,000 young people have taken part in surveys, the surveys that have showed us that in CAP areas, we've seen a 63% reduction in regular, so weekly or more drinking for the 13 to 16 age group. And when you consider that the baseline nationally is pretty much no change at the moment, that is a really phenomenal change happening. On average, we've seen a 44% reduction in antisocial behaviour. That's police crime data, that's across 13 police forces. A 41% reduction in residents saying that they see underage drinking in their communities, and phenomenal compliancy rates, pass tests at the end of CAP training. So 98% compliancy with Challenge 25 after licensees have got training and support. The 15% reduction in young people obtaining alcohol from their parents is good, but that is we believe the area that needs most focus and more attention, because that is really the game changer, and I'll talk to you a bit more about that in the next few slides. But amazing impact in a very short period of time. So why does parental supply matter? As many of you will be aware, CAP has been at the forefront of shining a light on this particular issue for some time now. And there are several answers, to the question, why does it matter? It's by far and away the single most common way that children, especially younger adolescents, access alcohol. So as the bar chart shows there, 61% of 11 to 15s who drink were given alcohol by their parents. And if you add to that the number, which is almost 40%, of children of that age who took alcohol from home, that means that the biggest source of alcohol is either parental supply or home supply, and that's really the area that needs more work if we want to really bring down underage drinking. And the other thing is that we know that alcohol is harmful to children, but parents are simply not aware of the CMO guidance that tells us that an alcohol-free childhood is safest and best. And the other thing that we're not measuring, but we do know, is that early introduction of alcohol increases the risk of binge drinking and later alcohol harm in adulthood. So the harm is not just limited to adolescence, but it takes, it impacts much later. So it's really, really an important subject. And as mentioned, CAP is sort of doing is shining a light on this and is acting as a catalyst for not just understanding the issue, but taking action to make sure that we are doing something about it. So our first piece of research was in 2018 and consisted of qualitative research, which highlighted a couple of important issues. The first was that a key driver for parents, either to supply or not to supply, was that desire to safeguard, that sort of paternal need to safeguard their children from harm. But we know that they simply are not aware of the risks, the CMO guidance. And what we wanted to do with our second piece of research was really understand the extent of that ignorance, if you like. And our big Mori survey of over 1,000 parents with children aged 11 to 17, which we funded in 2021, showed us very strongly that most parents are simply not aware of the risks of supplying alcohol early. They certainly don't know about the CMO guidance. And there were another number of findings. They vastly overestimate the normality of drinking. They think it's much more common than it actually is. So they're not aware of the huge declines that have gone on in the last 20 or so years. The other thing is that the survey was such that we could sort of drill down a bit into the demographics, and it's a very much a universal issue. It's not isolated to just a few sort of demographic groups. It's very much across the board. So the third and most significant piece of research that we've just completed was a very, very extensive literature review by a behavioural psychologist, Dr. Anna Salas, who's also head of behavioural and social sciences at the Office for Health Improvement and Disparities. And she has undertaken a very extensive research piece, which I will tell you a little bit about. And the next steps are that we are going to use her findings to road test in 6 of our CAPs a pilot campaign drawing on her findings. And then we're going to sort of use the evidence of that to build a case for wider action, which needs to go beyond, what CAPS can do locally. This is a national programme. It needs national focus. And the ear of governments from all nations in the UK and others to really move this forward. So looking at Anna Salas's research, the first part of her research consisted of a literature review of over 30 research studies in the last 10 or so years. And this has highlighted some reasons, why parents are letting their children drink at a young age, and indeed sometimes encouraging that. And she's also uncovered some sort of common characteristics for parents who are most likely to supply, which is really important for targeting of future messages. So one of the findings was that parents who themselves are drinking at risky levels are more likely to supply. That most parents, as our Mori survey showed, are simply not aware of the risks. That the parenting style tends to be more permissive when it comes to alcohol, and then backing up what the Mori survey showed, that they're very much overestimating the prevalence and normality of adolescent drinking, and also just feeling powerless and that it's inevitable. And then that key finding, which has come through very strongly, is that the reasons are that they are trying to safeguard their children by early introduction, thinking that it's the right thing to teach them to drink, or that they're protecting them from worse things like taking drugs. So, it's all of that is really, really important for targeting messages. And we now have a really good understanding of that. And some of the conclusions, and we will be publishing Dr. Salas's report, so it'll all be in here. And I don't have time to take you through all the campaigns, but she looked at interventions worldwide, Australia, the States, Europe, and looked at, what were the points that maybe we should be learning from for our own pilot campaign. And at a national level, she is recommending that we need to challenge parent perceptions around widely held beliefs that teen drinking is prevalent or inevitable. And also get parents to think again about whether being permissive is the right thing to do. It's actually not. There is a clear need to ensure that the CMO guidance is widely communicated, and given that this is a universal issue, we think that the information needs to be communicated in such a way that it reaches pretty much all parents. And then for CAPS, and we'll definitely be looking at incorporating some of the second list of points into our pilot campaign, a whole community approach to help to ensure that communities have shared goals is going to be really is more effective than just targeting parents on their own. Early intervention is key. So it's really important to look at even 5, 6 of primary, at getting in there before parents are introducing alcohol. So early intervention is key. That need to educate parents on the risks and debunk the urban myths around early introduction about teaching them to drink. All of that needs to be sort of challenged and changed, but in a way that is on side with parents, because parents don't want to be lectured or finger pointed. They think they're doing the right thing. They absolutely want to safeguard their children. So we need to tap into that natural maternal or paternal instinct to look after one's own children. So that will all be in the report, which is not too far away, and we will share that with everyone. So just moving on to what next. So we're in a really exciting era. We, as Derek has explained, we reached the milestone of 300, but that's not enough. And we estimate that we need at least another 300 caps. We do need to have them in the areas with the highest harms. And those are Scotland, very much so, the north of England, so northeast and northwest, but also the southwest, so Devon and Cornwall and so on. So we are mapping those areas. We've increased our capacity to support with regional advisors, and that's the plan for the next few years. We will continue, as I've already outlined, to lead on doing more around parental supply. We've got the big research study about to go, the pilot campaign, which we hope to launch in September, which we will test out in 6 caps, 1 in Scotland, certainly 1 in Wales and 4 in England is the plan. And we need to start building now a coalition of anybody who is interested in reducing alcohol harm. Parental supply and reducing that needs to be at the heart of any alcohol harm reduction strategy. And that is, what our sort of big thing is for the next 2 years. We're also doing much more to ensure that decision makers know about CAP and are working, we're working with them, they're working with us to support alcohol harm reduction, starting with young people. So I think for my final slide, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our funders. Without your support, none of this would be possible. And you've really stepped up in difficult economic times with, more headwinds around the corner. But it's incredible, your commitment and your passion and support for CAPS. So thank you to everybody who has provided, funding and increased your funding recently. So I think that is where I hand back to Gillian.